And we're live. With me, I have Kathy from 50 Nifty and Beyond, and she is a teacher, wife, mom, grandma, and talks about all of those topics on her channel, but I want to let her tell you a little bit. Kathy, tell us a little about yourself and your channel.
Thanks so much for having me, Kelly. My channel is Nifty 50 and Beyond, and I decided to start this channel just to cover lots of different topics that maybe you would face in midlife, being a grandma, having adult children, challenges that you may face with having adult children, and also some different goals and things that my husband and I are working on as far as our finances and even end of life planning, decluttering, all kinds of things. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Oh, I need your decluttering videos. Something I need to do. I'm thinking this summer, maybe I'll make some videos, then it'll inspire me to declutter and I can make videos at the same time. So I really like your channel. I mean, you do it while you're in the car, and that's a great way to do it while you're busy. I want to figure out how to do it in the car as well. And I know our friend Cindy goes live in her car every day. So what I like is you're like one step ahead of me in most phases of life, so I can listen to your advice and you're right there ahead. Like, I'm not a grandma yet, my kids are too young, but you know, that's the next step. Or adult children. I have one who's technically an adult. I'm about to have an 18-year-old, but they're at the stage where soon I'm going to be an empty nester soon, maybe. I don't know. My son.
Right.
So are you a complete empty nester, or do you still have some at home?
I am a complete empty nester.
Okay.
I love it. And that's another thing too. Oh, hello, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Loving being an empty nester. And I think that is a really difficult concept. Some people really have a hard time embracing the empty nest season, but I've been an empty nester for almost one full year. My daughter got married last year on January 1st. So we're coming up on one full year of being completely an empty nester, and we love it. My husband and I love it. So
yeah, well, you know what? Even though my kids are still at home, I had a little taste of it because my husband started a new job where he's traveling a lot, and then my daughter during the weekdays was living with my parents because her community college and her job was near them, but she'd come home every weekend. And then my son would be busy after school with soccer. So there were some nights where like I would get home from work, and that time from work until you go to bed was like all my time. And I loved it. Why do you guys not like being an empty nester? I get you miss your kids. But I could do my own thing. I'm taking a master's program. I could work on that without noise around. I could work on YouTube. I would work out. It was like, this is nice. I have all my own time. And
it
Cindy,
is super fun.
Yes, Cindy had 13 kids. I think you still have 2 at home, but I'm sure it feels like you're almost an empty nester with normally having 13. So we'll talk a little about each topic, but I don't want you to give everything away because they got to go to your YouTube channel and watch the full video to get the full effect.
That's right.
And Rebecca says hi.
Hi,
All right,
Rebecca.
so you talk a little about adult children and relationships. Like, what kind of topics will you discuss, and do you discuss on your channel?
Well, one really big thing, and this is actually one of the biggest reasons why I started this channel. My husband and daughter and I are actually working on writing a book together, and it's a memoir of the experiences of being a pastor's family with a single daughter who finds herself unexpectedly pregnant. And so that, that's going to be down the road because we're only in the very beginning stages of writing this book. But that is going to hopefully be a big topic down the road. And just because when we found ourselves in this situation, I'm always all about doing the research, reading books, getting help. And there is almost nothing out there. There is no support out there that you can find. Like, type in "my daughter is single and pregnant" and you're going to find almost nothing. So this is a tool that our family is working on that we really hope to provide someday. So that, I'm hoping, is a topic for the future. But even just the day-to-day, how to be an encouragement and a support to your adult kids without being intrusive, or just it is fun being a parent of a young adult child. All my kids are in their 20s, But parenting doesn't stop just because they're adults. So there's a lot to that. And I do want to really explore that on the channel.
Right. Well, that's interesting that you guys are writing a book and that you could use something that I'm sure was a very difficult time in your family's life to help others, especially because you want to put out there what you didn't have. So I can't wait to hear about. I'll have you on again after you write the book. So,
yeah, great. That'll be awesome.
Cindy says it's a strange situation to be glad and sad at the same time. That is exactly how I would describe it. Glad and sad at the same time. Ooh, interesting situation, Kathy, about your daughter. And Rebecca says, what a great idea to have a book. Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So, yes, I agree. Okay, so you talk a lot about grandma life. And just tell us some of the topics you talk about that.
So I love being a grandma. And I think one of the best parts about it is since my children are grown, I know the beginning to the end. And it's so true. People say, oh, being a grandparent is the best thing and you're going to love it, but you don't really understand when you're there. I mean, until you're there, because you have all of the love, but really not really a lot of the worry, because you understand all the stages. You understand that it's not going to last forever. You don't get panicky about tantrums and just different things, because you know that there's a way out of this. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. So I just am able to really enjoy being with them. And I really want to talk about that, but also just how to be supportive of really the adult child's family and kind of the goals and things that they have. Right now, I watch my daughter. She had her son when she was single. She's married now, but she's still finishing her college degree. And I babysit her son a lot while she's finishing her schooling. And he's kind of getting to be preschool age. So I'm helping him a lot with just learning things like numbers and pre-literacy. And I have one video out about how to teach math through play, but I plan to put more videos out about different things that I've been teaching him just through play. So just things like that about how to be very purposeful as a grandma. And I've picked a Bible verse for all of my grandchildren and just how to incorporate teaching that verse to the grandchild and making that something that I pray about for them, and just all different things. So.
Yes, I saw that one video you had about the math games, and that is, as a special ed preschool teacher, what we try to do is work on their goals through play and teach things through play. So to me, that you gave some great ideas. So it could be for teachers and moms, not just grandmas, I thought. So let's see what people are saying. Cindy, my sister's a Christian. Is a Christian mom. Oh, probably mom. I was thinking man. My sister's a Christian man. My sister's a Christian mom, and her daughter was pregnant before marriage, and they got through it well. It was hard, but I was very proud of how well she did it, all while the Christian people frown. Yes, I mean, everyone makes mistakes and does things they're not supposed to do. It's just with that kind of a thing, it's obviously very public, but the people frowning and making the most stink out of it probably have done other things that maybe we can't see, and that's what they fail to see sometimes. I had kids who left home abruptly, and it was so hard, but I am determined to always love them and be available if they need me. That would be hard. Yeah, that would be hard if they just were like, I'm out of here, I'm 18. So, yeah.
And, just to jump in on that, those are some other topics that I really hope to explore at some point too, because not only did we have our daughter's pregnancy, but we had almost a decade of just really difficult, kind of prodigal life, almost a very difficult relationship where we were just having to, like Cindy said, just continue to love and to pursue a relationship and be there. And you know what? There are a lot of people in this boat, and there's not a whole lot of material out there, probably because it's really hard for people to get very personal. And you want to have permission also from all of the people involved before you get and not everybody has that. But one thing that's really neat about this book that I'm writing, because it's a collaboration between the three of us, we all are consenting to whatever is being said. So we're all working together. And so it's not like anyone's feelings are going to be hurt or a relationship will be ruined, because we're making sure we're all okay with it before it goes public.
Right.
So,
Well, I can't go into details on this because I didn't get permission, but I know when my daughter got 18 or close to 18, she had a list of issues with me, and I had to look in the mirror and say, like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? So we all can grow with it. And I think from what I've been researching, like, no parents are perfect, but if you're willing to say, I did this wrong, they're your own children, you know, they're going to forgive you, you to have a bond. I think the ones that I see online, you know, there's a whole trend of my mom or parents are narcissists and won't listen, is when parents dismiss. If you just dismiss it, like, oh, it didn't happen that way, you're being too sensitive, is when kids push back and they're less likely to want to work with you to repair that relationship.
so true. Yep. Good job.
Yes. Teaching through play is what kids miss today. Moms aren't as attentive. So true. So true. Yeah, and I think they start too early, like kindergarten. They're so rigorous. My TA also worked in daycares for years and always brought her son with him. And it's like a big culture shock for him to all of a sudden, all day long, he has to be listening. I would think even if you could do structured play in kindergarten, like, okay, this is a science lesson and here are some things you could play with. Like, they still should incorporate more play. And I've seen teachers online talking more and more about this, how kindergarten's not developmentally appropriate. Yeah.
It's hard. I taught kindergarten for quite a few years, so you're right. It's very rigorous.
Yeah. And you did it at a Christian school, right?
Yes. Yep.
Uh-huh. You talk about that. That's one of your videos. I was looking actually here. Let me go back to your channel. That's actually your most popular video.
It is. I think it has 111 views right now, or I checked before earlier today. So.
Right. And with 24 subscribers, that's pretty good. So that's more subscribers than views, which is my quit teaching video too. Cindy said, people think pastor's family has to be perfect. Even I felt that way, and I finally released myself from that pressure. I'm a human being. Right, I think you're more out in the open is the problem. And I'm not saying you do this, Cindy, but I have seen some of the preachers can, like, some of those kids have the most rules and are the most oppressed, and then that's when you get the most rebellion. Because I've been watching a lot of cult shows lately. So it's always like the ones that oppress the most have the most rebellion, you know. So we're also going to talk about, well, we'll only lightly touch on this because I want to do a whole nother interview with you about this topic. But you're also the grandma of a child with Down syndrome. So you do have a video talking about that and what you guys went through. Do you want to say anything about that? But not too much, because we're going to do a whole nother.
It's so hard not to say a lot. So, I mean, she is just the love of my life. You know, it's so hard. I think you hear people say when they're pregnant or something, you know, a family member is pregnant. Oh, you know, I don't care, you know, if it's a boy or a girl, we just want this child to be healthy or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then what happens when, boom, delivery room, you find out, okay, there's this big diagnosis, you know, not only does she have an extra chromosome, but she is not healthy, you know, and just shock and awe, right? But she has been the best thing that has happened to our family. So we just praise God for her and can't wait to do a whole interview about it.
Right. Because I've done a series on my channel, you know, about, I want teachers who are teaching special ed to know about the different things that can come up. But, you know, even I went through years of medical problems with my daughter, which now she's healthy. Thank God she wasn't born that way, but it was still a huge chunk of her life. So, you know, I could relate to some of the things you talk about that. Okay, so you're also talking about your teaching experiences. We also talked about how you quit teaching, but online and brick and mortar. Yeah, and you are still teaching online, right? You said you taught 7 classes today. Was it VIP Kid or OutSchool or some other company?
So I am almost exclusively working at OutSchool right now.
Okay.
I live in a state where I can't work for VIP teacher or whatever. So I lost my contract with them, just not because of anything I did, but because of where I live. But I do teach one-on-one, mostly one-on-one ESL classes on OutSchool. And yeah, I work about 20 hours a week. So I'm teaching a lot. I have a contract with Cambly, and I just taught with them for 1 hour a couple weeks ago because I had a little bit of money in my history from March of 2024, and I wanted to be able to get up to enough where they would pay me out just to like finish out the year. But I almost never work with them because the pay is just terrible. So. But
yeah,
so
I always had them as my backup as well. And do they still have they upped the pay at all? Is it still $10 for an hour?
It's like 10-20 per hour or something like, and I make more than 4 times than that at OutSchool. So it's a no-brainer. Even if I have holes in my schedule, I almost look at it and I'm like, it is not worth it for me to make pennies to like, so I just don't. I usually don't.
Right. I could relate to that. I only had them as a backup and worked for them like once in a while. But yeah, and it was a lot of, I mean, a little bit a few years ago, and now it's not even minimum wage in the USA, you know, so.
Although I was thinking, I think I am going to do a video soon about working on Cambly, because one thing I've noticed in like the midlife kind of space on YouTube is a lot of people talk about loneliness and just different problems as far as that goes. And I started thinking, I think you can work on Cambly without a college degree. I'm not 100%.
You can, yeah.
So one thing that is nice about Cambly is when I do work for them, because it's really just conversational English with adults, I always finish those conversations feeling, or almost always, feeling really energized and uplifted because it's really kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, you know, people that maybe are home and can't get out or just feel lonely, that might be a great part-time job to kind of help boost their mood. And you would get a little bit of pay too. So it's not a bad idea, you know, depending on your circumstances, but.
Right. I would totally agree about that. It's kind of just fun. You hop on. I used to use it only when, let's say it was like Chinese New Year and VIP Kid I had like a 2-hour gap or something when I was normally working. I would use it for those kind of situations, or like you get a last minute cancellation, you could get on. But yeah, I would agree. They can be all different English abilities. And there have been, like, I can count on one hand how many times I've gotten someone that literally could barely speak English, but most of them speak pretty well, and you have a conversation and they just want to talk to you to practice. And it's just like talking to a friend. Yeah. And Cindy says working at Cambly is a great idea. I think you're like us. You have an account at Cambly, Cindy, but you don't work there that often. So, here she's also, Cambly is a good experience if something else comes up for better pay. I have an account there, but I've never done it. Great idea, though. Yeah, and you know what? If someone wants to get into online teaching, Cambly is so easy to get into. You just get into that while you're doing all your mock interviews and stuff. You could start bringing in money before you're set up at the other places, and you could practice. Like, there's a lot more leeway to not be as good, you know?
True. It's definitely a great thing to have in your pocket.
Yes. And Nostalgic Pod Blast, hello. He says, hello, everybody. Okay, so let's go into, you talk a lot about retirement too, and you and your husband are on like a 20-year plan. You say that, I don't want to give too much away. I'll let you talk about it, but tell us a little about that.
So my husband is a pastor, and so we've never really earned a ton of money. And so as we're now, I'm 51, he's going to be, he just turned 52. We kind of have created a plan between now and when we are 70 to kind of make sure that things are solid as far as retirement goes. So in 2025, we have a lot of goals as far as just working on different end of life planning and retirement and different things, partly because also as a pastor and just a pastor's family, you know, he and I work together with a lot of things. We see a lot of really close up and intimate details of how people live their lives. And what I have noticed is there are people who do a really great job in their midlife and heading into their retirement and even elderly years. And then I've seen some really poor examples of things that are just a disaster kind of organizationally. And I've really started thinking, wow, like I want to be that organized person that really has my ducks in a row. So I'm planning to this year, we're doing a lot of things like estate planning and will and having a family meeting and having a binder, an end of life binder, and just all these different things. But I'm also planning to make some videos, kind of how to, because I know most people do not have these things in place, just like we don't have these things in place. So just what we're doing for savings. Also, I was a stay-at-home mom or kind of like a part-time teacher for most of my, career, but I don't have a very big credit footprint because of being a stay-at-home mom and or only working part-time. And now as an older person and looking ahead towards, one of us is going to die first, right? So like whichever one, and statistically, men usually live less long than women. So
Yep.
just working on things to make sure that as an individual, my financial stability is intact, so that I would head into potential like widowhood or whatever, like strong and financially secure. Those are all things that we're going to be working on in the next year and in the years ahead. So just a lot of things, and I really do want to make some videos about that.
Right, and make sure that your husband has you as the beneficiary on all his retirement accounts.
Right, and all those things, are kind of normal,
Yeah.
but there's some other things that people don't necessarily think about.
Oh, good.
So.
Okay. I want to hear this. I can't wait for these videos. Because same with me. I had one like a retirement account, that I started a 403b before I had kids, and then like you worked. I was a stay-at-home mom completely for 5 years, and then worked all part-time type jobs until my youngest son was 16. And as soon as I got like a full-time job, I started saving again. But I had all those years where I wasn't saving, and my husband was. So, I think those are some good topics. Let's see what people are saying. Rebecca says, I have a Cambly teaching account, but have not used it much. So that means you've used it a little bit. Tim, online teacher dude, did an interview with a guy who learned on Cambly and then went solo. He makes big money helping business people learn English for high-end jobs. Ooh,
I remember that video. That was a good one.
Okay. I don't think I saw that one, but that's kind of a good angle because a lot of people are switching to independent teaching, and I did a little, but like he specifically has like a niche of business people. End of life planning is depressing. I agree, and I think that's why people end up avoiding it. Like it's not something people want to think about. You don't want to think about death, so people just avoid it altogether. But then you die and you don't have a good will, and that's when it can cause fights among families and crazy things. So you have to do it, but I that's why people avoid it for sure. Good for you, Kathy. I look forward to those videos. And wow, and I'm not sure what you're wowing because there's always a delay. My mom is all set up well, but she is just sad and mad every day. Working on your mind is huge. That's the reason I knit. I agree. So, wait, let me get the last one. Teaching online is a retirement plan, and it is something that can be done as long as you talk and think.
I agree with that, Cindy. It's it's part of my retirement plan.
Right, and I think it is because you can be at home, you can work part-time. I want to address this one. So in general, I have seen examples of what I do want to be like when I'm older and what I don't want to be like when I'm older. And I'm thinking of someone specific, though I'm not going to say, I'm thinking of several specific people, good and bad. So I know someone who retired, and I don't mean she physically died. I mean she mentally died. She just sat down, watched TV, and that's all she does. So I think that is why her mind is going, your physical's going. On the other hand, I've seen good examples. My own grandmother her husband died actually in her 50s. So she had a long time, as being a widow, and she volunteered. She kept doing all of that. I've seen people, an aunt of mine is in her 80s and very physically fit, traveling the world. So I want to be I want to keep doing things. I want to keep doing things that help my mind. I don't want to just sit there and watch TV. I want to be physically fit. I keep saying when I retire, I'm going to literally be in the best shape of my life. What are you going to say? You don't have time? Can't use that excuse.
Right.
And even if you don't live longer from working out, you will have a better quality of life. You'll be able to do things that other people won't be able to do. So, yeah, I definitely thank you for those, the good and the bad examples. I've learned what to do and what not to do.
And just jumping in there, kind of piggybacking off of what Cindy said, that is another aspect of my channel that I really want to pursue. Well, kind of like two sides to that. Like, one, I have a 97-year-old grandmother right now who's pretty much coming to the end of her life. And then my dad's going to be 82 this month. My mom is 77. So just the whole idea of kind of helping to take care of our older generation. And the second kind of prong on that is the whole idea of biblical counseling, which is a really big part of my life, but even kind of helping our relatives or friends who are struggling with these things. I am talking to my mom every single time I talk to her about her struggle with her mom is dying and just thinking about end of life. And yeah, maybe thinking about it is depressing, but if you know where you're going when you die, then it's really not depressing. It's actually kind of exciting. Just those topics too, really want to hit on those on my channel as well.
That will be good. And the part I find hard though is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
So
you
true.
Could try to tell, you would try
Right.
to tell people they're blue in the face. Hey, you should be walking. You should be doing things to help your mind. And if they don't want to do it,
So true.
You can't make them.
So true.
Let's see. We aren't taught how to plan for retirement. We need people to walk us by the hand and take us through the steps. Well, my own daughter is getting into the workforce. I'm like, the minute you have a full-time job, you should be putting money into retirement. And if anyone is watching and you aren't saving for retirement, do it now. If you work for yourself, you don't have a company, or if you're a stay-at-home mom, you can open a Roth IRA. So yeah, you don't want to get to end in life, be like, man, I should have saved for retirement. Too late now. You can't go backwards. You can't go back to your 20s and start saving.
But you can start today.
Yes. Today, no matter how old you are, you haven't done it now, start today. And that's what you're doing with all the side hustles and you're trying to plan.
Yes.
My other plan is I have 13 kids, and my plan was to spend a month with one kid per month, and they can pass me around. Oh, okay, that's good. You know what? When I was starting the first sentence, I thought you were going to say, my retirement plan is my 13 kids. I was going to say, Cindy, you can't rely on that. But then it was, your plan is to spend time with them every month. Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my son Ben passed away. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I could not even imagine. He was a special one, but I still have 12. Ben is with Jesus preparing there. Yeah. So I can't wait for your retirement videos as well. Those are things you need to think about no matter how old you are. And so you also talk about money saving, which in this economy, I think everybody needs that. And for you, it's helping with retirement. Just tell us some of the money saving topics you might be talking about.
One that's going to be coming out very soon, if I ever get 5 minutes to myself can make a video, is I'm planning to do a no spend January. and just how I'm going to kick off some different things with that No Spend January. This year, one thing I learned about from my son, who is thankfully doing so, all of my kids are doing so great with things that we did not know because we tried to teach them. So I'm so thankful that they're all applying different things, but found out about high yield savings accounts. And so another one of our goals is to start stocking money away in a high yield savings account that is a very beefy emergency fund, because those are right there, at your fingertips. You can get that money fairly quickly, but it's also doing high interest. So that's something we started working on last year and are going to really focus on this year. Trying to max out our Roth IRAs. Really going to try to work on that each year. So just some different things and that is one of the big reasons why I work online. why I'm teaching online to be able to save that money.
Yes. And okay, so I thought that with the high-end savings account, you couldn't have the money for a period of time. Like it's like 5 years, you can't touch it or something.
That I think is more of a CD.
Okay.
There's a little, I mean, it's a tiny wait period.
Yeah.
What I've seen is when you deposit money in my high interest savings account, it's like a week and then it's available and you can transfer it back out if you want to. So
Good to know. Maybe I should look at. And it's
brief.
more stable than like a 401k or 403b
Yes.
where the stock market can be
Right.
going up
This
and
is
down.
not affected by that.
Yeah. Cindy says, no spend January is a good idea. I spent so much less money when I didn't have any. I'm interested to hear about your no spend January, but I have to tell you, I couldn't do it. But I am pretty good about looking for deals and saving money on without, kind of year round. So, and also like I'm the type, like if I don't have it, I don't spend it. But then if I do have it, I can be a little more lenient. But then some things it's like, well, if you can get it cheaper, why wouldn't you? Even if like it's like clothes. I always immediately go to the clearance rack. Like why wouldn't you look there first if you need something to see if you could get it? But
Right.
yeah, but I always think the no spends are interesting. I just don't think I can do it. Yeah, but that is why we have a credit union. The interest is way higher. Really? Okay, I have a credit. I thought the interest. Well, I guess it depends what credit union. But also, credit unions are better about the interest is actually lower if you're the one borrowing money, and those are good. I have a credit union, definitely when I needed to buy a car, put that on the credit union. Yeah. Truthfully, I don't need any new clothes, but I like to refresh. Right. You know what I do is Walmart always has their clearance rack. And if I go to Walmart to shop anyway, like I'm going for groceries, I always just look at their clearance, see what they have. Some days you might not find anything, but then some days you find like a steal. Like, oh, wow, here's a jacket. Only $5. So, yeah. But also, like, if I go to Ross or TJ Maxx, I look at the shoe section first. And like, I've gotten, like, snow boots and rain boots and all those things at those kinds of stores. Especially if you're just like, oh, if you just look every time you're there, you'll find the stuff you need. So I wanted to talk about a specific video because I just thought this was so interesting. You had one that was called Side Hustles for Rural Life. And you probably don't want to say where you live online, but I have visited Kathy in person because I have some family members that live near her. So we have met in person. She's one of the few online friends I've met in person. And she lives in a very, 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 very rural area, very rural. I live in the suburbs of a major city. So when I was watching, like if I didn't know you, I probably wouldn't have even clicked on the video because it doesn't apply to me, but I watched because you're my friend and my jaw dropped. I'm like, whoa, I would have never thought of any of these.
So crazy.
I know. Like driving the Amish around was one of them. I was like, I don't want to give away.
That is big business where I live.
Yeah.
Big business. I'm not even kidding.
It sounds like it. It's almost like they're like, oh, my religion says I can't drive a car, but I can pay someone else to drive me. It's kind of
Exactly.
like they're finding ways around it. Yeah, so I don't know if you probably don't want to don't give away at all because they need to go watch the video. But just tell us a little bit about that video because I thought that was so interesting.
I'll just say, when you live in a rural area, life is it's some aspects of it are almost like you lived 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. So people are just very scrappy and they barter, they trade, and the kinds of things, I mean, you're living off the land. A lot of people do. Mm-hmm. And so you can get some good money, side jobs. Think 100 years ago and there you go.
Right. Yeah, and I like visit my family members and it's just so different from where I live. I'm like, oh, I could, no offense, but I could not live there. And the cold, like it's lifestyle, cold. The cold, like it is cold. But love to visit my family. And if I the past few years, they've come and visited me, but if I come again, we will definitely have to get together again.
That would be so fun.
Yes. Also, Savers and Goodwill. I just went to them last week. Yeah, and you can find some like hit the jackpot. Like, I can't believe you bought that at Goodwill. Sometimes, but then sometimes I think, wait, I can get something brand new for the same or lower price at Walmart's clearance rack than I can at Goodwill. So it really depends. It's worth looking at. Let's see. Barter and trade is a great way to do it. Yeah, and especially like you said, when you're kind of living in a small town, and you talked about growing and selling your own vegetables and stuff too. Yeah, so that's really good. Yeah, so anything else you want to tell us about you and your channel before we stop?
Just a few other things too. And you know what? I'm kind of in the spaghetti, throw the spaghetti up and see what sticks kind of phase, and I know that it's better to kind of niche down. And so I'm not really sure where it's going to all land. But one other thing that I've been doing is some book reviews. I did a book review of this book, Mom, Tell Me Your Life Story, or Tell Me Your Life Story, Mom. And I'm planning to work on answering the questions in this. This is more for my own kids. But then I also am planning to do some other book reviews. I read a lot of books because of doing biblical counseling. One book that I'm planning to review is Paul David Tripp's Parenting for 14 Gospel Principles That Can Really Change Your Family. And then also this last year, I bought a Life Counsel Bible, and I've read about half of the actual Bible in 2024, but there's also good articles about counseling in here about all different topics like depression, anxiety, marriage. And so the articles are really excellent. So just doing some book reviews as I go along and see how that works as well. So all different kinds of things, all different ideas.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, with your channel being just so new and only 100 and I think 24 subscribers, like you can experiment around with different topics.
So I actually only have 24 subscribers. It was flipped. The teaching video got 100 and whatever views, but I don't, but my goal for the end of January is to have 100 subscribers. So if you're still listening and you haven't subscribe now, and maybe I'll get to my goal of 100. So.
Yes, and you heard the topic she's talking about. Well, as you know, Cindy and I both have been reading a lot of books, or we listen to audiobooks because we both commute and talk about it. So you're always welcome to come on with us, actually, for you or anyone who might be interested. So what I do, if you have Apple Books, you can put something, even if you don't buy the book, what I want to read. So I've had this one book for what I want to read on my list for a while, but the book was like $25 or something, and it just got on sale for like $4.99. I think it still is. It's called The Only Plane in the Sky. And Cindy, I'm going to start listening to it when I go back to work. January 6th. What a famous day to go back to work. And and Cindy and I are going to talk about it. If you and or anyone watching wants to also read along with us, you can come on my YouTube channel live. We can talk about it. So yeah, it's an oral history of 9/11, so it's a lot of people's stories. And
very cool.
Yeah, but I can't wait to hear your book reviews. And that one you talked about on your channel where you're answering certain questions. I probably am not going to read the book, but if you put out a video answering one of the questions, and I think it's a question that I don't mind sharing, or I think it's interesting, I may do a video to piggyback off you, because Kathy invited everybody who wants to read this book with her and go on YouTube and answer the questions to do it. So
yeah, I think that'll be super fun. So yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on my channel. Her channel is, let's see, you tell me the channel. Screwed it up. Oh, there it is.
Nifty 50 and Beyond.
And it's at Kathy Nifty 50 and Beyond if you're searching with the at. So some very good topics. I enjoy your videos.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me on too.
Sure. Yes. And thanks to all of you who came live and those who will watch later. And everyone have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Goodbye.